and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate, a show that talks about, that's the main gist of it, but we do more than just have a show. It's about science, it's hopefully funny, we take absurd, ridiculous questions from our listeners, and then we actually go off and do research and then share the answers with each other. I am one of the two hosts that's regularly here, Julian Huguet.
I'm the other one, Trace Dominguez, and I'm also regularly a regular human being, like regular, normal-ish sized, made of the same stuff. But we also have a third person here this week.
Yes!
Oh, wait, Julian's running. He's running.
Lieven Scheire!
Oh, wonderful.
He is a Belgian science communicator, host of the podcast Nerdland, and person whose name we determined needs a full run-up to really get correctly. Welcome, Lieven, to the show.
That was impressive. I thought you were going to do the greeting afterwards that they do in gymnastics, after Scheire geloerd. Hup, greet the audience. Yeah. But the pronunciation was excellent, so maybe I should recommend this to foreign friends.
Really get into it.
Takes a small run. Yeah, it's hard to pronounce, so Lieven Scheire, that's the name. It's the typical g sound in Dutch. Winston Churchill used to say, Dutch is not a language, it's a disease of the throat. And so Scheire is how it's pronounced. I remember being in the UK, I was announced as a Lieven Scheire.
That's the Lord of the Rings.
It's the first
plot of the Lord of the Rings.
It's the first chapter of The Hobbit. That's me, Lieven Scheire. Yeah.
Honestly, though, that's like a good chapter. Like, it's all optimistic and stuff. There's no...
Gandalf is there and everything.
Yeah. And then he gets stuck in a tree and has to get saved by Tom Bombadil.
That whole section doesn't make sense.
Bizarre.
I'm so happy that is not my name, because that would be long.
Tom Bombadil?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to sing it everywhere.
My name is Stuck in a Tree, being saved by...
And there's a lot of bird poop in that section. It's a weird...
Yeah.
Just in general.
It took the right chapter to be named after.
Sure. I mean, nobody wants to just be named The Two Towers. Like, that's not, not a great name. Yeah. Anyway, if this is the first time you've listened to the podcast, as usual... Sorry.
Yeah.
We're still doing the intro. So, like Julian said, we answer these questions from the audience. And I'm going to go first this week. Rob from Eindhoven in the Netherlands. Rob writes... If we remove all the salt from the oceans, would that solve anything about rising water sea levels? Lieven, since this is your first time, I don't know if you've heard the show. People ask all the time, would that solve anything?
One guy asked if filling the Grand Canyon with water, he had this whole long question. At the end, he was just like, I don't know, would that solve anything? And it killed us. And the audience clearly agrees. And forever since,
just the best.
Every question seems to, mandatory. It has to end with, would that solve anything?
It's just like an answer looking for a question, and we loved it.
It's a famous saying in engineering, there's a problem for every solution. So you invent something, and then you go there must be a market for this somewhere.
I guess that is how we got stuff like Silly Putty. They're like, hey, we made this cool stuff. It can pick up newsprint, and it bounces, and it's really great.
They were trying to invent artificial rubber during the Second World War, and that's how they came up with Silly Putty.
Really?
And then they were like, let's just give it to kids. I'm sure it won't mess with their thyroids or anything.
In an egg for some reason? I don't know why.
No big deal.
Post-it notes were the same story. It was...
artificial rubber during World War II?
Yeah, absolutely. No, somebody at 3M wanted to invent a new kind of glue, and so they invented a very bad glue. That's the actual origin story of Post-it.
Hank, what are you doing, buddy? This doesn't even stick to anything for more than a little while. And it can only hold up look, I can barely hold up this paper.
Yeah.
And then someone said, well, there is a problem for every solution, and they were right.
Yeah.
They're like, make the paper really small.
This is the perfect thing for storing your passwords forever on your computer monitor.
Then people will write their passwords on it.
Permanently, not a loose little square of paper that can easily blow away with all your important information on it.
That's great.
We've solved it.
All right, so let's talk about removing the salt from the oceans. Rob writes, love the podcast, love the fun you have answering absurd questions. Again, audience, we will answer the questions eventually, I promise. I was wondering if you like swimming in the ocean.
Would that solve anything?
Just Rob wanted to know. Do you? Yeah, I guess it's kind of sticky. I grew up with fresh water, so I'm not used to ocean water. I don't know. Anyway, last time I started to despise all the salt that came into my mouth, and instead of closing it, I was thinking, what if we just took all the salt out of the ocean, which is just the most human thing ever. I'm not going to close my mouth. You sure you aren't American, Rob? Because that just sounds very American.
Could it be mildly inconvenienced?
I'm not going to close my mouth. Just get all the salt out of here. If we remove all the salt, would that solve anything? And also, would it cause anything? And the answer is solve, maybe not. Cause, definitely. So, the ocean is salty. I think we all are pretty aware. Salt water. And then in English, I guess we call it fresh water, although I've also heard it called sweet water, which I think makes sense because you've got salt water and then sweet water, which is kind of
Which implies the existence of umami water and sour water.
I have had umami water. It's like hot ham water, I think.
Boiled ham water. Lovely.
Yeah. Do you know how salty the ocean is, friends?
Parts per million wise? Is that what you're asking?
Or just like, give me a percentage, of the ocean by mass. Say, in a kilogram of ocean water, what percentage of it is dissolved stuff?
Oh, that's a good question.
How many grams are left when you dry it out?
Yeah, exactly.
I've done it as a school project. Just take some seawater to the class and then let all the water evaporate and see what's left. And that was not much. So I would say less than 1 gram.
Interesting. Okay. Julian, we're on Price is Right rules here, so.
Per liter or what? Like per what unit volume?
Per kilogram, how much? I was thinking a percentage, but if you want to go by mass, sure. Yeah, that's fine.
0.1% for me.
Yeah, he's saying 0.1%. He basically came out on the Price is Right and said $1. So it's really just anywhere from here.
Yeah, I'm going to go higher than that.
Don't go $2. That would be fine, but don't do it.
I'm going to say 2%.
I mean, that is the equivalent of doing $2.
No, he went 0.01%.
Come on.
It's $20.
Yeah.
It's 3.5%.
That was much closer.
Yeah, much closer. Yeah. So about 35 grams out of every kilogram is something that isn't water in ocean water. And that's on average, of course. And it's a lot of different things. And it's actually impossible to fathom.
What ocean depth pun.
Yeah, thank you. And it's actually a really hard thing to learn about all the stuff that is in water. The first person to really start writing about it is a British naturalist and philosopher, Robert Boyle, in 1674 in his paper, Observations and Experiments About the Saltiness of the Sea. Excellent paper title, Robbie. To the point. We know what's up. Clear. Great. Take a second, though, and think about how much stuff is in seawater, because how would you determine that? Now, I know Lieven sort of talked about it. You evaporate the water, but let's say it's 1674, and you're trying to guess. Audience, you think about it, too. How are you going to ascertain that? Like in a school project, sure, I get a plastic tub, I don't know, a hair dryer. But in 1674, how do you, scientifically determine what is in seawater? And I ask because he wrote it in this paper, his method. And I was wondering if maybe you guys could come up with something similar.
Okay, it's the 17th century. Where was this guy based out of?
England.
Okay, so I'm going to start by consulting my Bible.
Okay, got it, yeah. He's going to ask the Anglican, go ask the vicar.
I'm going to have a pocket full of posies so I don't die of plague.
Vicar, how do I get the salt to the sea? It's more Scottish, I guess.
I don't know, go to a tide pool?
That's interesting.
But so step one would just be waiting until all the water is gone?
Yeah, I mean, that'd definitely be part of it. But how do you just grab some water and wait?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm going to compare it to the weight of a goose. I don't know what. I don't understand how to do it any other way than the get a tub and wait a while.
The classic English, poem. Shall I compare thee to the weight of a goose?
Thou art two gooses.
Okay, so here's how he did it. I'll just spare you. You take a clean towel or any other piece of cloth and dry it well before the sun or before the fire. Weigh it accurately, and then note down its weight, dip it in the seawater, and when taken out, wring it a little until it will not drip when hung to dry. Weigh it in this wet state, then dry it again in the sun or at the fire, and when it is perfectly dry, weigh it again. The excess of the weight of the wetted cloth above its original weight is the weight of the seawater imbibed by the cloth, and the excess of the weight of the cloth after being dried above its original weight is the specific gravity of the salts retained by the cloth. Obtain a proportion of salt contained in that species of seawater. Boyle, 1674.
Why is this a more accurate method than just boiling it out or something else?
His name was literally Boyle and he didn't think to boil it?
Maybe he didn't know that the salt wouldn't come out of the pot with the water. I don't know.
Julian, are you suggesting that I should be leaving?
No, never.
Okay, good. Never. Good. Thank you.
Please be staying.
Nominative determinism.
So yeah, that was the first time people started really scientifically trying to figure out, is seawater just water? What else is in there?
Okay, I can see the logic, right? If I got all the water out, but the towel still weighs more, so therefore there's something else in there.
Yeah.
But they were already collecting salt from seawater since long before the Roman times.
Right?
Yeah. They knew there was salt in there. Yeah. I think the difference is, and the reason I bring this up is because I find this very fascinating, that they were trying to be as precise as they could about what was in seawater, because it's different depending on where you are, and they didn't really understand the specifics of it, although they knew they could get salt out of it. And they knew that it was different, obviously, than fresh water. So they started also adding things like silver nitrate to seawater. Boyle did this as well, because any chemists here in the room?
It's gonna, I guess, probably have an ionic bond and precipitate out with the salt, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Silver nitrate forms a titrate, creating a silver chloride and a small amount of bromide. And so they knew that seawater contained chloride because there are all these dissolved ions in there. By 1819, quite a while later, Alexander Marseille published the 5 major constituents of seawater using chemistry and different methods to kind of precipitate or to titrate the different water and get different ions out of it. By 1884, so another almost 70 years, Wilhelm Dittmar had up to 7 different things in water. And by 1899, there was a conference, the Stockholm Conference, where Martin Knudsen, a Danish physicist, proposed the idea of standard seawater.
Standardized seawater.
Yep.
Once again, very human. We must standardize this liquid.
Very much so.
The Pacific Ocean is out of bounds.
Standard seawater is based on the Atlantic.
That was just off the coast of Denmark. The stuff that's right there is this is the reference seawater. Whatever we pumped out back into the ocean, that's the real seawater, and everything else is measured against that, I'm assuming.
You're not entirely wrong. So Knudsen was kind of a big deal, I guess, in the late 19th century, and he wanted a standard measure for seawater so they could compare all other seawaters to it, because seawater isn't uniform. Even though we think of it as all ocean water is ocean water, this is not really true. There's different ocean water salinities. There's different measures of conductivity depending on what is dissolved in it. Things are dissolved in them in different places depending on the runoff. And so they wanted to be able to measure all of these differences. So if, say, you're measuring the amount of runoff, you needed to know what the sea was like before you measured the runoff. So you just needed a baseline. We love basic science. And so this is super cool basic science. And he proposed this at the Stockholm Conference. And here's what he proposed. We mount an expedition to take samples of open ocean water around the Atlantic. Then we found an institution that is staffed with scientists, not many, 5 scientists, who analyze the ocean water, determine its physical and chemical properties, including specific gravity, salinity, and the halogen content, as he said in a quote, and then that we just continue to do that forever.
Okay.
Just keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Yeah. Keep making these measurements and having this institution continue to monitor the standard seawater that they create or have.
Adapt the standard to reality?
I think over time determine if the sea is changing, but also like have this baseline that everybody can use. The conference, by the way, was not convinced. he did not get what he wanted. But Marty Knudsen didn't want to wait, so he said, and this is a quote, "In my opinion, the members of the Stockholm Conference did not clearly see the advantage of using a standard water for all titrations. I did not hear a single mark against it. And I myself felt convinced that the standard water sooner or later would be a great advantage, perhaps a necessity for hydrographical work. And it did not seem probable to me that the whole international cooperation would begin within a short time. In fact, it took 3 years. And in the meantime, it would be useful to have it at hand." So he just started doing it himself.
So that's the scientific equivalent of like, you guys are haters, but you'll see.
They see me standardizing seawater.
Yeah, they hate it.
That's great.
I was just wondering, maybe standardized seawater is also important for the definition of the kilogram back then, because it was defined as, I think, a cubic decimeter or 1 liter.
1 liter is a kilogram.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, and it needs to be a certain type of water because it changes with temperature and with salt and everything.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. Oh, I didn't think about that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. I don't know because then they changed it to the kilogram of Paris.
Yeah, now it's all based on math.
Only recently, I think, they changed it into Planck's constant and then some magical mathematical numbers.
Some speed of light calculations and stuff. Yeah.
Because all the standardized kilograms that they had a few. There's one in Belgium too. And they had all changed a bit.
Yeah.
And nobody could say which one got heavier and which one got lighter because they were all the reference.
The real
So that's when they panicked.
Yeah. I could see that being an issue. Yeah. But no, you've got a point. I'm sure like having some standard reference for water could have its uses in terms of defining standards, weights, and measures. But aside from that, like for seafaringness, I mean, maybe monitoring earth sciences, which I doubt they were really doing at the time. I could see a use for that like today. But yeah, otherwise, I'm not sure what Knudsen's up to.
Yeah, so here's what he's up to. He found another partner and just launched this expedition himself in 1900. His partner was, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, Fridtjof Nansen, who was a pretty famous explorer around the turn of last century, and they founded the International Council for the Exploration of the Sea, or ICES, and then they established a central laboratory, and they went out and they snagged a bunch of ocean water, and they slapped it into some ampules, which I just love that word, great word, 80 glass ampules of standard seawater, and they did this a bunch of times. The 80, by the way, were standard seawater number 6. Okay, so since, Lieven, maybe you know, how do you pronounce the O with the line through it?
In Danish?
His name is Søren Sørensen, but the O has
Sørensen would be my guess.
He only has the line in the last in his family name, so it's Søren Sørensen.
Søren Sørensen. Huh. We could go to forfo.com and maybe when it's Danish, it's impossible to. It's Søren Sørensen.
Oh wow!
Probably
Sørensen.
Danish children are the latest to learn to speak because the sounds are so difficult. That they are the eldest children who can actually speak their own language.
They have to really internalize it first.
Yeah, once they got it. They
Absolutely.
Can make all sorts of noises. That's why there are probably so many Danish DJs. They're just like, I got noises. I understand how this works.
My language is sampled.
So, quote, number 6 was analyzed with regards to chlorinity through titration and gravimetric methods and specific gravity and subjected to periodic checks of that specific gravity over the following 2 years, which showed an increase similar to the kilogram of 0.015 kilograms per cubic meter. So they don't know why it got denser, I guess. It had more specific gravity, rather. But it was probably just the glass in the late 19th century was like going into the water or something. They don't know. Anyway, They continued to make more ampules into 1902. They actually made what they considered the first real standard seawater, and they founded the Standard Seawater Service. And Fridtjof Nansen was the director, and that continued into the 20th century, and it moved from different orgs and institutions. The Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution was involved in collecting and doing the seawater. We love them. They are great. And then it moved to Copenhagen and into World War II, then into the U.S. for a while during World War II, where the Woods Hole Group and the U.S. Coast Guard, I don't know if you've heard of them, they started to collect the seawater. And in 1974, they created the Institute of Oceanographic Sciences. And then finally in 1989, it was privatized, but it still sticks to the International Association for the Physical Sciences of the Oceans, the IAPSO standard, and you can buy it today.
Ooh. Seawater number 6, like a fragrance?
You can buy standard seawater to this day.
Do they have to get it from a specific spot, or do they make it now? Is it like artificial? Because I don't want no lab-grown seawater, you know?
Don't want no scrubby seawater.
I don't want no artificial. I want the real. I want conflict seawater, so I know
real
it's
deal. Conflict-free. Yeah. Conflict-free seawater.
Oh, yeah. That's what I meant. What did I say?
That's what you meant. That's what you meant.
If you really want conflict seawater, I guess it's available somewhere.
Yeah, you could probably find that.
Yeah, wherever there are pirates, there's conflict seawater.
I'm putting a link in the little chat here so you can see some ampules of conflict-free seawater. Stop it, Julian. You ruined it. Here's some ampules of standard seawater that you can find and purchase.
Oh, we've got American standard seawater as well. I'm sure it uses units that don't make any sense to anybody else.
Probably, yeah. We instead of getting 20 milliliters or whatever, we get an ounce, and everybody's like, why?
3 kangaroos' bladders of water.
Yeah, exactly. 1/2 cantaloupe of chlorine. What? Why?
So anyway, it still exists, which is pretty cool. You can buy it for like $20. It's useful for all sorts of hydrological studies. It contains the right amount of minerals, the right amount of salinity, the right amount of specific gravity that is average for seawater, and it is electrically conductive as it is supposed to be. And the reason I talk about all of this is because if we remove all the salt from the seawater, it's not going to be the same amount of salt everywhere. It's going to be different amounts of salt depending on where you are. So do you think the poles or the equator or like warmer regions is saltier than each other? Which one's the saltier seawater?
I am going for the equator because I would think that the ice is melting at the poles and diluting the water.
Same.
And also the ice is freezing and trapping some of the brine inside of it. So the answer is a trick question. They're both saltier. Polar regions have a lot of salt because the salt water is denser. It lowers the freezing point, and as it freezes, the sea ice traps it as a brine, which is super salty, right? But it also pushes some out, which gets trapped underneath the sea ice, making that super salty. Then in like the Red Sea between the Arabian Peninsula and East Africa, for those Americans who don't know about geography, there is less freshwater inflow from the desert surroundings and more evaporation, meaning it is saltier. So in places where it rains a lot, but there's a lot of evaporation, it kind of balances out okay, less salty. Places where there's less evaporation, but more runoff, it kind of changes depending on where you are, which is pretty neat. So if you went to the Red Sea and grabbed a bunch of ampules and were like, this is seawater, and then tried to do an experiment with seawater off the coast of England, you'd have different levels of salinity, which is just cool. Like, that's neat.
Yeah, it's no seawater number 6, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right? So there was a paper in 2013 that used IAPSO seawater. They used electrolysis to vaporize the water part, and then they measured what was left in a inductively coupled plasma atomic emission spectrometer.
Oh, yeah, I got one of those in the back.
Awesome.
Very James Bondy.
Yeah. And here is what they found. Chloride ion, 19.980 grams. Sodium ion positive, 10.556 grams. Sulfate SO4-2, 2.649 grams. Magnesium, calcium, potassium, bicarbonate, bromide, boric acid, strontium, and fluoride, totaling 34.482 grams out of their kilogram of water, or about 3.5%. Pretty neat, right? Mm-hmm. And I found a piece about this that says, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, dissolved CO2 in rainwater makes it slightly acidic, eroding rocks when it falls. That's not the only trick water has up its sleeve. The H2O molecule is polar. The oxygen atom hogs the electrons, so it's more negatively charged on one side and more positively charged by the hydrogen atom. When salts are in water, they break apart because the only thing holding them in their crystalline shape was that ionic attraction. So once the rain lands, it flows downhill, carrying those dissolved minerals and ions to the streams and lakes and rivers, and eventually the oceans. The USGS also points out that salt comes from inside the oceans too. Volcanoes and hydrothermal vents heat water so it can dissolve some of the basalt on the ocean floor, adding salt to the mix, which is why there is salt in the ocean in the first place. Does that sound familiar?
So what I'm hearing is the ocean is always getting saltier.
Always getting saltier. And I learned this from this clip.
The salt stays behind and it rains fresh water. So long as the water doesn't get stuck inland, a la the Great Salt Lake, salinity levels will stay below 0.05% compared to the 3.5% average salinity of the ocean.
3.5%, Julian.
I did know that at some point. I knew 0.1% sounded too low. I didn't want to be too extreme.
Yeah, well, either way.
Did they standardize you back then? And are they measuring how you change? Okay, I see. Yeah.
Oh, I've been preserved in brine, actually, which is why I look so similar to how I did 10 years ago.
Wonderful.
Yeah, there was a whole video about why the ocean is salty, where you talked a lot about everything that we have just discussed.
I remembered all this, actually. I was going to bring it up. I was like, I don't know why I know it. Probably from all the scripts I wrote for Discovery a long time ago. But I was like, yeah, I remember the ocean gets saltier from rain dissolving.
I got the question from kids a few times, like, why is the sea salty? And the explanation that I always got was, well, the water that we have is sweet water, fresh water, because the salts cannot travel with the rain. Mm-hmm. And then it was a surprise for me that the original water on Earth was not salty. They're still discussing what the origins of the water on Earth are, I think.
Yeah.
Some of it came with comets, but not everything, because the amount of isotopes in the comets and on Earth is doesn't really measure out. So there might have been chemical processes on Earth producing water too. But so in the beginning it was all fresh, and then the Earth made it salty by just picking up minerals from rivers. That was a surprise to me. I hadn't watched the Discovery video yet.
Now you know. So anyway, all of this was a long walk for a short equation, because to be honest, if you just remove the 3.5% of seawater that is salt, you know what you've just removed all of the salt. So it's pretty easy to calculate what would happen. I just wanted to have an excuse to talk about standard seawater because I think it's cool. But so let's say there's a magic button that moved the salt out of the ocean, that 3.5% of seawater that is salt by mass. So it's pretty easy to calculate what would happen. The ocean would drop as a surface level a lot. That is a mass of 50 quintillion kilograms. So the number 50 with 18 zeros after it. This would be a bad button to push. I would say don't push this button, this magic salt removal button. So let's say there are two buttons, friends, and you get to choose. Do you want to move the salt from the ocean onto land, or do you want to move it into space? Which one would you push?
Land. I want to know how it stacks up to, like, land masses. With our 15 quintillion kilograms, Did you say?
It's a lot.
Okay.
How do we make this choice? Do we make this choice because we want the most spectacular view, or do we want to have the highest chances that there will still be life on Earth after the experiment?
I leave that up to you. Which one do you want?
I would say leave it on Earth so things can balance out when all the dead fish are gone.
Okay, so you both choose moving it to land. So we'll do that one first. You hit the button, it removes it from the ocean, and you get enough salt to cover the entire Earth to a depth of 150 meters, or about 500 feet.
Holy smokes.
If you were to spread it evenly over the Earth's surface, it would cover approximately 1/2 the depth of the Empire State Building, but, everywhere.
This is apocalyptic.
Yeah, not awesome. It's a lot of salt. Also, just a reminder, ocean's real big. It's hard to, again, fathom.
The good thing is the pavements will not be slippery in winter.
True, yes.
Yeah.
So much grip.
So it does solve something.
Yeah.
That's one. Hold that one on. It is the solving section.
On the positives list, we can add. Yeah.
Once you've hit said button, the average depth of the ocean, which is currently 3,600, 3,700 meters, about 12,000 feet, drops 129 meters on average. So sure, solves sea level rise, I guess. You now can see your continental shelf, which is fun, about 423 feet. Interestingly, freshwater is less dense than saltwater. So your sea is now slightly less dense.
Okay.
Well, I like to think of it as fluffier. I don't know.
It's
Just a little fluffier.
Whipped
Just
sea.
a little bit. A little whipped. Are you curious what would happen if we moved it to space? Because I thought that would be fun.
Sure. How big is this new satellite we've created?
Yeah. So if we moved it to space, firstly, the salt would probably, we're assuming, of course, just for the simple math, that it's all NaCl salt. Like it's all chloride and sodium and not the other smaller things that are in the ocean, just because it's easier to assume. But if you did the simple math, that would make a sphere the size of the width of Germany of salt in space, about 3% of the diameter of the Earth, or 10% of the diameter of the moon.
Salt moon.
It's a lot of salt. So you got a little moon. You got a wee moon and then a big moon.
Yeah. A dash of salt with your cheese.
Our moon is a big moon.
Yeah.
So it would be a normal moon.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. Normal moon.
And our regular big moon.
And then our salty moon.
Yeah.
Although the salt would probably sublimate, but let's assume it didn't. Then you'd end up with this cool sphere that would be really, really big.
So then you would have salt space and fresh space.
It would be insane if it was one giant crystal, though, because if it would be all jagged.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know?
Neat.
Like a perfect cube.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That's if it was sugar. Yeah, the big.
Imagine all of Earth's horses would just suddenly learn to fly.
Well, all the ocean fish would be dead.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry. So either way, the Arctic ice caps, which are currently floating on the ocean surface, would sink in the less dense water. There would be a huge tidal wave when the polar ice cap sank and further into the water, generating essentially like a giant wave pool on Earth with a big mass. The death of almost all sea life as salt by osmosis moves out of their cells and into the fresh water, attempting to balance their salinity. The marine bacteria would all be dead, so all of the dead things that are in the ocean that fell to the bottom of the ocean would not decompose because there would be no bacteria to decompose them, at least at first. I'm sure there'd be some eventually. All of the phytoplankton that currently live in the ocean would die, and that's about 50% of Earth's oxygen forming system. So we'd have 50% less oxygen forming on our planet every minute. So then there'd just be a mass extinction on land as well, even if we moved it to space. Obviously, if we moved it to land, it would be bad for everything. We'd just Carthage the entire planet. But either way, also earthquakes and volcanoes around the globe. So if you moved it to space, and so you could do that, you changed where the mass is. And so the mass of the ocean weighing down on the mantle would be less. And so it would just let up a lot of pressure changes, which is pretty neat. So just be a huge change in mass moving one place to another. And it would solve sea level rise, though, Rob. We wouldn't have to worry about sea level.
Finally.
Pavements and sea level rise is the things that we solved here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all the rest is death and destruction.
Mass death.
One other thing I thought would be neat is if you put it on land, it would increase Earth's albedo.
Oh, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. So albedo, for those that don't know, is Earth's reflectivity. So how much light we reflect back into space. And so desert sand is about a 0.4. Concrete is a 0.55. The average on Earth is 0.3. And so I feel like salt would probably be somewhere between desert sand and concrete, because it's kind of like a lightish color granule. So maybe we have a 0.5 albedo. Would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe solve some climate change. I did also just Google this, and healthline.com says if we remove salt from the oceans, we could sprinkle it on roasted veggies or add it to chocolate-based desserts and use it to season steaks and burgers and fish.
Okay.
And also Healthline said you could use it in a saltwater gargle, which would be nice, a lot of gargle. And the industrial uses of salt, according to a salt company based in Pakistan who had a website that was just incredible, probably entirely written by ChatGPT. who said that by the way, the author of this website was Jennifer James with an AI-generated profile image. But Jennifer said that we could use this for industrial uses as well. But I like de-icing, dyeing, oil and gas drilling, softening hard water. Really important after we've covered the entire planet with salt.
Side note, Jennifer James sounds like a name generative AI would come up with when it was stalling for like a human name. Like, what's your name? Jennifer James?
It's
Jennifer
literally
James?
Making up the next syllables.
Yeah.
Like James,
Yeah.
Another token, James.
Yeah.
Right. I did write down what Jennifer James's blurb was because I just thought it was so good.
Yeah, what does it pretend to be?
As a skilled content manager, Jennifer infuses each article with a captivating touch, drawing from her 5 years' expertise in the fascinating world of salts.
Jennifer James, all about salts.
But only 5 years of
The
experience.
server room is filled with salt. There was a mishap.
I was still thinking about the albedo.
Yeah.
When you remove all the salt, the ice caps would grow a lot because it would all be freshwater. So it would freeze at 0 degrees Celsius.
You got a point.
Right.
So you would probably have ice caps all the way to Norway, Denmark, maybe even the Belgian coast. That's an even bigger albedo and even lower not lower sea levels. No, sorry, forgot. The sea level would not lower if there's more freshwater ice because of Archimedes' law, of course.
Would that solve anything? It would solve climate change, I guess, because there'd be more albedo, so we'd be reflecting more light, we'd be holding on to less heat. We'd have a colder ocean. No, a warmer ocean. That would be bad. I don't know. It's too complicated. Turns out meteorological stuff is tough, y'all. It's almost like we need satellites and things to look at them and measure them.
I wonder how it would affect the water cycle, right? Because you lower the latent heat of vaporization of the water. So I wonder if you get more evaporation and then more humidity. But then if it rains, how much does it have to rain to just bring the salt right back to the
oceans? Right, yeah.
The thing about climate change, of course, is that we're on walking a slack line.
Right? Yeah.
And we're slightly out of balance now. So the climate is getting hotter. So we're on this line, we're leaning to the left. And this solution would be, because we're leaning to the left, it would be jerking the rope to the left like 15 meters. I don't think it solves climate change.
We still fall off the rope, is what you're saying.
It changes it even more in the other direction.
Well, look, here's one thing it definitely solves. There'd be a lot more drinking water available.
True.
So the drinking water crisis, hashtag Team Water, apparently. Yes, going on right now. Mark Rober and Mr. Beast are making Team Water-based videos to explore drinking water. And you can go to teamwater.org if you want to donate and spread drinking water around.
I feel like climate change net, though, it would actually be a jerk to the right because you've got so much photosynthesis takes place in the ocean. The ocean's such a huge carbon sink because of like all the different organisms that come to the surface and eat those plankton and then move like farther down. I feel like it would be temporarily, okay, like a little more sunlight's reflected, and then like within months, it would be catastrophic for the amount of like CO2 in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're not seeing the ocean for the trees that wouldn't exist.
Right.
You know, like there would be no ocean life, there would be no kelp forests, there would be no phytoplankton.
The plankton, the plankton's
there would also be no
one.
life on the land. So we're basically killing everything.
It's so bad
at this point. Yeah, it'd be bad.
So then the climate can do whatever it wants because
we've solved climate change because there's nothing for climate to.
Nothing to care about anymore.
Yeah, they don't. Nothing that cares much about what the climate is anymore.
70% of photosynthesis takes place in the ocean. It's algae.
Okay. Yeah, it's bad. It'd be bad. So, Rob, don't do that. Don't hit the button, neither button. And in fact, just leave the buttons alone. And we'll just keep on watching Julian videos about how salty the ocean is.
From back when I was young and handsome.
Or young. Just young, I think. Let's take a quick break and come back and hear what Lieven has to say about farts. Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
You know, we think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like, I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out. Welcome back to That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. Trace, thanks for your answer. And now, Lieven, it's your turn to actually take the reins and answer some listener questions. You picked multiple questions, but they have a central theme, as I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, I picked one question because it's very intriguing, and then it turns out that farts were a popular theme amongst the listeners. And so some other question, we might elaborate on fartology while we are at it. But the main question that got me interested was asked by Nick, and Nick was wondering, could you ruminate a fart up to the point where smelling it would kill you? I feel like some Japanese assassin movie is coming up and somebody has perfected the art.
The fart.
Yeah, of ruminating.
Been holding a fart in for 50 years, waiting for his target.
Oh, God.
He went to a monastery in Nepal and the monks taught him.
I can see this montage, but it's just him sitting going like...
Clenching.
Never enter an elevator where this man is standing.
No, that's definitely the kill box.
Apart from the question, could you kill somebody with a fart? I think even just the activity of ruminating a fart, it's got this meditation-like thing. Like, what are you doing? It's a kind of an awareness exercise. It's mindfulness, I think.
Yeah,
ruminating the fart. Let's go for the short answer. Could you ruminate a fart up to the point that smelling it would kill you? No. Well, and no for multiple reasons. First reason being, very simply, that we have no knowledge of a lethal smell.
Wait, what?
There's no amount of stink that can kill you.
I don't know.
Challenge accepted.
Trace and I did a road trip and we stopped for chili dogs and
we did. It was not the right move.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of smelly things that can kill you, but you are killed by the chemical reaction of your body. And so there's also, of course, because we're human and curious, there is some research in what is the smelliest chemical that you can produce, and you can see people go absolutely crazy when they smell this really stinky, pure things, but they're never lethal. So smelling a fart cannot kill you.
Wait.
Yes.
I feel like we're glossing over important info, which is, what are these things that drive people mad when they smell them?
Yeah, I want to smell one.
The sniffs of insanity.
The sniffs of insanity!
Yes, exactly.
Because right now they are... The idea of smelling something that makes me crazy is inconceivable.
So I found a video where Nile Red was making the stinkiest chemical. It is thioacetone. Well, so Nile Red made this in a video. He actually rented an island to test this out because he didn't want to do it inside, and he wanted other humans to be as far away as possible.
Wow, that's so considerate.
It is considerate. And also spectacular, which is great for YouTube.
Of course.
Do a spectacle. You could have just done it in a room. It's fine. A big room.
And then he makes the chemical, and the ironic bit is that he doesn't really smell it. So I'm really curious now if there's some genetics to it, because his cameraman is going crazy, like outside in the woods, 100 yards away from this camp. He's going insane. And he's just like, it's a strange smell, but it's not that bad. So.
Wow.
Or maybe, and I'm speaking anecdotally here, but my dog has gotten skunked right next to me a couple of times.
Oh.
And the smell was so bad that it like fried my sense of smell. Like I knew I smelled bad. Like I knew it got on my clothes, but when I put my nose to my shirt, like I didn't smell it. And then I walked in the apartment and my wife was like, Jesus! Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So maybe there's that. Or maybe there's some, you know how like some people can't taste that soapy flavor in... Cilantro, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing stuff out there. I have no evidence for any of this. But it's interesting that Nile Red would be immune to this horrible smell.
Well, I did a science show on genetics, and cilantro was one of the topics. I passed it around in the audience, and you could see the two groups, like the people who absolutely hated it. And I think it's just one gene. If you alter one gene, then cilantro is suddenly
delicious again because it's the best.
I like it too.
I just looked it up. I love it. And yes, thiols have strong odors resembling garlic, cabbage, rotten eggs. They're used as odorants for like natural gas, so you can help smell a gas leak. So.
I knew they sounded familiar. Natural gas.
Because natural gas is odorless, but for safety reasons, they add, fart.
Yeah,
they add fart to it.
That's a job description. We need someone.
Fart safety officer. Fart smells save lives is what we're learning.
You're out at the happy hour, and someone walks up, and they're like, "Hey, my name's Greg. Sherry, what do you do?" Sherry's like,
I save lives.
Yeah. Oh, really? How? How do you save lives?
I don't want to call myself a hero, but...
Sherry, how do you save lives? That's really amazing. That's really cool.
But I can see someone sitting on this big gas pipe. They put a hole in it and just sitting on it, like in one of these reflective jackets with a helmet on, and eating onion soup all day and saving lives. Yeah, true.
That's how they do it.
Probably what happens.
If there is a genetic component like Niall might have where you can't smell like a thiol, would that mean like you'd be disqualified from that job? I don't know.
Probably.
Again, we're just speculating here, but...
Or maybe you'd be perfect for that job. I once got a job at Yankee Candle. Now, Lieven, you probably don't know what that is, but every American listening is like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? And the answer was, I was poor. So I needed money. And so I worked at the Yankee Candle for 2 weeks. And in the interview, they ask, do you get a headache from strong smells? And my answer was no, because in my life to that point, I had never gotten one, but I definitely did after this.
Oh.
So Yankee Candle is a candle store where the candles smell of everything from like super pine, they call it like Christmas wreath, but it's like pine and like apple and pie and clean laundry, which does not smell like clean laundry, and like a variety of other things. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of smelly candles in one store.
Gwyneth Paltrow's candles were there too, or no? Not really. No reference. No.
There's no reference.
Oh yeah, what are they made of? I probably don't want to know.
It smelled like her private parts.
That's
what
the
she
one.
said.
Yeah.
Nope. No, they were all family friendly.
Family friendly. I see.
And by family friendly, I really just mean like there's an excellent vertical video about it. Where they're explaining all of the different levels of Yankee Candle, and it's like from physical objects to all the way up to like existential like feelings. And it's like clean laundry, and then it's just like Christmas morning. It's like, and they go through the different stages. It's excellent.
Slight fatigue.
Yes. And it's like the smell of a thought as opposed to like of a thing.
Winter melancholia.
I definitely get headaches with strong smells. So maybe that they wanted somebody who didn't. So maybe the thiol sniffer should have the no smell gene.
True. But it didn't kill you, because...
I didn't.
Smells cannot
Not like
kill.
the last guy who they hired.
That's reason one why the fart will not kill you, because no known smell has ever killed. The other reason is that you cannot make a fart stronger by ruminating it.
Why?
Because if you hold in your fart, they will exit your body. Through your mouth.
What?
Yes.
Are we back at the we're just worms?
We're just one long tube with With a hole on either end.
Just to not make people too afraid, it's not the fart that bubbles all the way up and exits through your mouth. The gases will actually enter your bloodstream and go to your lungs.
Oh.
And you will breathe it out in a very diluted way so it won't be smelly.
I should just do that then.
Yeah, your fart will disappear in your bowels. I don't know if it's all the gases, but most of them. And then they will just exit in your breath. But it's also unhealthy. So every website that I found about it advises against holding farts in. Maybe for a few minutes when you're in the elevator. I understand it.
Or on a first date.
Yeah, also. But not for days on end.
After some chili dogs, when you're almost to the destination and you're excited to do your first live show. Julian.
Would you rather me have fart breath?
But so, you cannot ruminate the fart until it kills you. Of course, maybe there will once be a movie made where it happens. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be good. Scarlett Johansson she's gonna kill so many people.
Is it Black Widow? That's Scarlett Johansson, right? Yeah.
Black Wiffo. It's a spin-off.
Oh, it could be. It could be a new superpower.
The tagline's gonna be, get a load of her.
Will she turn the other cheek?
You'll never smell her coming.
She kills in the night. But of course, so after fast finding out that the answer was no, of course I got curious. Can you kill with a fart in other ways? Well, let's look at the chemicals that are inside a fart. So you have the very normal CO2 and nitrogen, because in fact, a big part of a fart is air that we swallowed. So it's just atmosphere. When we eat, we don't swallow huge bubbles of air, but it's all inside there. There's small bubbles, and so it bubbles up in our bowel. So that's a big part of a fart. And then the foul gases are made by the microbes in our gut. So it's not us farting, it's the bacteria farting.
Yeah.
And it comes out our body.
I've never farted. That's tens of millions of bacteria conspiring to make me look bad.
That's exactly what happens. And so that's also the explanation of what kind of food makes you fart. It's food that gets all the way down to the bacteria in your lower gut. And so a lot of fiber, things that the food will stick to, so it doesn't digest completely. You actually, if you want to fart a lot, you need to feed your bacteria with food that you don't digest very well yourself. So cabbage and Brussels sprouts and onions. And of course, if you're lactose intolerant, then your body cannot use the lactose. So all the lactose ends up with the bacteria. They have a huge feast and they produce a lot of gas. So you're just feeding the bacteria there and they produce the other gases. And so they are methane, hydrogen sulfide, methanethiol, and dimethyl sulfide. Not everyone produces methane in the farts. It's only 1 in 3 people.
Yeah, I had heard that because of the people trying to light their farts on fire, and it didn't work.
Yeah. I do produce methane in my farts.
Congrats.
You did a test?
I know this because I was tested in the hospital of Leuven in Belgium. For a TV show that we did. So I was medically tested on methane in the farts. And they test it by analyzing your breath. So first, you have to drink fart-inducing liquid.
Oh, wow.
So they give you...
Wait, okay. I know that Dutch, like, there's kind of a joke right now that I'm seeing a lot where, like, if you're an English speaker, like, oh, change your phone language to Dutch, because it's, like, so kind of weirdly similar sometimes that, you know, like, the certain specific words. It almost seems like somebody doing a bad Dutch, like, impression who's an English speaker. Is the term for it something goofy like fart juicing or something? Like...
Well, fart juice sounds like you liquefied
it.
And then so that, no.
No, I'm not into that. No thanks. Don't hit that button.
Fart aid.
I'm pretty sure fart aid. Yeah.
Fart aid. That sounds like, it's trying to help you fart.
It's got some medical name, but we called it the fart liquid, And so it's just fiber and some sugars that we do not digest well, and the bacteria like a lot. And so they give you this glass and say, drink this, it will do the trick. And then after a while, they don't smell your farts or try to light them. You have to breathe inside some kind of a spectrometer thing, and they can find it in your breath because of the same thing that I mentioned. Some of these gases will get diluted in your blood and come out through your breath. So I am a methane producer. The strange
Mazel tov.
Well, and the strange thing is, I don't produce the methane. It's the bacteria in my gut. But still, it's partly genetic. So your genes determine what kind of bacteria like it inside your gut.
Right.
And so I have these methane producers in my bowels. The reason that I was tested was for a TV show, and it was because we wanted to test a patent that we had found on the internet. It is a patent for a fart-powered toy gun.
No! No!
Oh, yes.
The older brother 5000 is what this is.
Yeah.
The obnoxious older brother 5000.
This is a patent from, I'm holding it right now, October 29th, 1957.
Oh my God.
1957. There were no PlayStations. People didn't have much to do.
This was the PlayStation in my era.
And Stefano Marocchi filed a patent in the United States Patent Office, patent number 2,811,150, the compressed gas gun. So I don't know if you ever built a potato gun, where you put some deodorant in, and then you light it. It's the same principle, but you have a plastic toy gun that you hold. And so there is a hole in the top, and you have to press it against your bum.
Right.
And then administer the methane while you open a piston. So it creates an under pressure. So the methane goes in there. Then you close it again. And then you light a little spark, and the explosion makes the dart fly out.
Okay, wait. But you need methane because methane is a hydrocarbon that can combust. So if you don't produce methane in your farts, is your pop gun not as effective? Is it like a dud? Are you farting in this plastic gun for nothing?
You're just shooting blanks.
It's useless without the methane. So this was a toy for only 1 in 3 children.
Right, that's why it didn't succeed.
But everybody had to buy it to find out.
What's the patent holder's name again?
Stefano Marocchi.
Stefano is just like, damn, if only more people made methane, I'd be a zillionaire.
I'm reading it right now. This is incredible.
Genetics ruined my millionaire idea.
Yes. He's in a bar, all depressed. What's wrong?
It's the methane, man.
I had the perfect idea. I was going to change the world.
You should meet Sherry. She's sitting over there.
Yeah,
maybe she can help. If you guys could come up with something.
We built a replica for the TV show.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And so since we found out that I was a methane producer, we built a replica and we tested it and it didn't work.
Oh.
So we tested it again and it didn't work again. Then we started wondering, well, let's try it with pure fart. So next to my bathtub, I had a glass jar that I could...
And you captured it bubbling up. Oh my God.
Collect pure combustibles with.
Oh my God.
Then we tried it with pure fart and it didn't work again. And then I just had this gun lying around the office.
When it wasn't working, would it go like when you pulled the trigger?
It's a spark in the air, and there's nothing that explodes. So it's just a spark. It's just you pull the trigger until it goes click, and then nothing happens. But then I just had it lying around the house. I thought, it's here anyway. Well, load it, fart gun. Yes.
You didn't lock it up?
I keep a loaded gun next to the bed, sir.
In Europe, that's the right to bear arms, but it's a fart gun.
So, imagine waking up to the sound of a burglar. Wait, honey, the onion soup, fast! You walked into the wrong house, mate.
I came here to eat cabbage and shoot bad guys, and I'm all out of cabbage.
Because I already ate it.
I ate all of it, and it's in this fart gun.
That's the smell of freedom, sir.
Eagles.
See, in this case, though, it would be the real sound of eagles and not the sound of the turkey vulture or whatever that we always
use. It's a red-tailed hawk that they always use for eagles. Anyway.
Yeah, so I kept this loaded gun around the house, and so I thought I have nothing to lose, and every single fart that I was near the gun, I tested it. And one day, it worked.
Amazing.
I fired one dart, and it flew, I think, 20 meters away, something like that. And it was one of the happiest moments of my life.
It was all worth it.
That more than 50 years after Stefano had this patent in the United States Patent Office, I did him proud, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Grazie.
So insane.
You make my life worth living.
If just one man in Belgium can use my fart gun, just once.
Stefano, no one is ever going to use your invention.
Stefano, your children are starving, Stefano.
If one dart flies 10 meters, I will die a happy man. Yeah. The patent is out there. I think the patent is gone now, so I think it's open source now. You can do...
We will put it on our Instagram for sure. I've already downloaded the picture of it. Incredible.
If it works, if you build a replica, please let us know. I'm so curious.
It's so unsanitary. It's so
I love
gross.
it so much. I feel like you need one of those tubes and maybe like it needs a second capture device, some tanks.
Well, so when I was diving into fart research, this is what you did to me. I was a normal human being.
Oh, yeah, with a fart gun.
Sure, yeah,
the
totally.
Loaded fart gun that he tried regularly. But we're the weirdos, yeah.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. This man had a fart gun 10 years ago. We have nothing to do with this.
He used regularly. Regularly.
This was before he knew we existed. Yeah, but so in fart research, there was a huge study done in 1998 by Mr. Levitt, Michael Levitt from Minneapolis Veterans Affairs Medical Center. And so in 1998, he studied 6 healthy women and 10 healthy men over 4 hours. The total gas the subjects released was from 100 milliliters to 1,600 milliliters, but only 4 released any methane, and the biggest farter produced over half a liter of hydrogen.
Whoa.
But the way they did this was with a plastic tube that would go inside and catch everything. Because, of course, you have to be scientific. It cannot be diluted in any way. They had apparently not come up with the sitting in the bath solution. So
I think I found this same study on another episode where somebody asked about a fart-powered rocket, and I used the composition of the gases to determine like the mass of a typical fart. Yeah. So I know exactly the study you're talking about. Yeah.
Michael Levitt, 1998.
This is a seminal fart study.
He changed
apparently.
the world.
We keep coming back to it.
But he says, so there was an interview with Michael Levitt there, and so he was talking about, he said, it's very difficult to analyze the gases, especially it's very difficult to get it out of the body without atmosphere air getting in there, so he used this tube, and he said that studying farts in this method was a pain in the ass. Good one, Michael. But he actually looked for the chemicals in there, also how much fart do we produce. Turns out between half a liter and 2 liters per day for an average human. And so then the methane is there. Methane can be toxic, but you have to breathe in a lot of it, and it's mostly toxic, I think, when it pushes the oxygen away. So you're breathing too much methane, not enough oxygen, you will go unconscious. So I had to look into the other chemicals inside the fart. What do we have? So, like I said, we have hydrogen sulfide, methanethiol, dimethyl sulfide, and then some small things. Dimethyl sulfide, is that how it's pronounced in English?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sounds right to me.
We say dimethyl in Dutch, so I always have to ask for chemicals because it's like you say, put your phone in Dutch, everything is weird. Dimethyl sulfide, which was in the science news a few times in the past month.
Yeah.
Did you hear about it?
Is it going to be like a signature a telescope picked up on some exoplanet that's consistent with dimethyl sulfide or something?
Exactly that one. It's the exoplanet K218b.
I just did a video about this. No wonder it sounds familiar. Man, I wish I didn't forget everything that I make right after I make it. Oh, that would be so convenient.
Who would do that about a past video they've made? Not me, that's for sure.
But well, it's the famous James Webb Telescope story that it can pick up signals from chemicals in the atmospheres of exoplanets through the light of the stars that passes through the atmospheres. And there is a list of chemicals that we think are only produced by life, or that can only be sustained in certain amounts by life, oxygen being the most famous one, but dimethyl sulfide is also one. And then a team in, I think it was England, came up with this detection and said there is dimethyl sulfide on K218b. And the rest of the story, Trace, well, you covered it, so you probably followed it. It was a lot of going back and forth of, no, it isn't. Oh, yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. That was what's happening the past months, basically.
Yeah. They were like, look, how we think that they make dimethyl sulfide is only an organic method. It could be made other ways. We just don't know them. Yeah. And they were like, no, it's aliens. I went to the pop science people were like, it's aliens, we found aliens. And all the scientists were like,
yeah.
Oh, I'm not exhausted by pop science media at all.
But then they analyzed the signal, said there's dimethyl sulfide on K218b, and then another group of scientists analyzed the same signal and said, we really can't find it. We just see bumps everywhere, and we think it's an overinterpretation. And then the British team said, well, we reanalyzed it also, and we now even get a stronger signal. And then they took other data from another observation, also by James Webb, and they said, well, we have new data now. And an American team said, we have new data, and now it's really clear that there's nothing there. And then the British team said, well, we also saw the new data, and now we are very sure that it certainly is there. So it's mind-boggling what a playground situation you have.
I love that.
Yeah, well,
the Brits sound very sassy in your retelling. Yeah. They're like, yeah, well, we looked at it, and there's tons of farts, and they're all from your mom.
We should put James Webb Telescope pointed at your mom.
Yeah, oh wow, a lot big fart signature here from your mom.
It's probably messing with your data.
Yeah. Your mom was so fat she's an exoplanet. That's what she is. Yeah.
My cousins can beat up all of your cousins.
Yeah, but it's messy. Sometimes science is messy, and especially scientists can get in these strange battles. But I think it's fun that we try to find alien life by looking for fart in the galaxy, and so maybe the fart will give it away. Maybe they are looking at us and say, "Oh, what a farty planet we have over there with all the dimethyl sulfide." But so that's the list of chemicals, and of course, if you want to kill with a fart, you want to go for the most toxic one, and that is your hydrogen sulfide. So the others are toxic too, but hydrogen sulfide will be, well, the most effective one. The problem is concentration. You have 1 part per million.
ADHD, yep. Sorry.
It is make it hard for the concentrating part.
Yeah, well, my wife and my daughter both have ADHD, and I bought them the t-shirt that you might have seen. It's ADHD in the letters of AC/DC.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then underneath it says ADHD, highway to Hey Locust Squirrel.
Yeah. Perfect.
I love it. I need it.
Yeah.
I need it.
Okay.
My favorite is, I don't know what HD is, but the doctor said I have 80 of them.
So yeah, the hydrogen sulfide, it's 1 part per million in a fart.
Oh, very low.
Yeah, 1 part per million. And you need at least 300 parts per million to be lethal. When you have 300 parts per million, it will take a few breaths to go unconscious and then possibly die, because it will block some of the enzymes in your cell biology. So it's actually toxic. And it will mess up your metabolism. But so 300 parts per million, you need a few breaths. Every breath you take is about half a liter. And you only produce, between half a liter and 2 liters of fart a day. So you need 300 days of fart.
Distilled.
For 1 breath.
Wow.
And of course you need a few. So it's better to go to hydrogen sulfide 1,000 parts per million, because then you only need one breath to kill someone. Half a liter of 1,000 parts per million. It means that depending on your fart production, you need 1 to 3 years worth of fart to poison someone. And of course, then you have the problem that you need to concentrate it to the right amount. And I looked up some chemical methods. You could try to develop a membrane and push the gases through. I think the easiest is just by cooling it. You just cool it until the boiling point. And then you take all the liquids away before the boiling point, and then you take it just below the boiling point, and then all the liquid that is left, you hope, is hydrogen sulfide. So that's maybe how you could work with it. So if you really, I'm talking to Nick now, who asked this question. If you really want to kill someone with your fart, you have to collect 3 years worth of pure fart and then concentrate it down. This is alchemy here. So concentrate it down to, now that I'm thinking of it, this fart assassin movie becomes really boring.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is actually, I can see the montage. Dun, 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 like,
it's a mission 3 years in the making.
It's chemistry. Get me my mass spectrometer. So 3 years worth of farts, then boil it down to 1,000 parts per million, and you're good to go.
Good to go.
Yeah, that would be the answer. Can you ruminate a fart until smelling it would kill you? No, but there are other ways.
Then you put it into a fart gun, and Stefano shouts,
and it powers a poison dart, a poison fart dart gets shot in your neck.
Maybe that's the faster route, is that you take a fart gun with a needle, and you collect some of the bacteria in a fart, and then use the fart gun with a fart to shoot the bacteria inside somebody's bloodstream and hope for some kind of septic shock or something. That would be... But, well, it doesn't... Of course, it doesn't take the dedication of 3 years of pure fart
it's not
collection.
as monk-esque. It doesn't fit our monk narrative that we've already started in the writer's room, so I think we really need to abandon that one.
Yeah, true.
Maybe for the sequel. We can try that for the sequel. The bad guy can do that.
Killed by fart 2.
Yeah.
It's fart hard. Fart harder.
The Fart and the Furious 6.
Fart.
Well, Gone with the Wind. Oh, that's the one.
Yes.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
done. We found it, gentlemen. We did it.
Found it.
Well, Lieven, that was insane.
It was.
Thank you for really taking a deep dive into the bowels of this question.
Well, you made my life so much richer the past days, I must say.
We are going to take a break, and when we come back, I am going to tackle the last question of this episode.
Welcome back. Sorry.
Nobody's going to listen to this show after this episode.
I apologize. Maybe that's not the best way to bring us back.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. We all took a burrito break. We are back.
And then, after 7 chili dogs each, we have returned. Thank you for listening.
We've all agreed to enter a tontine where the last man standing wins, but you must kill the others via fart. Okay.
So, Julian, you have one last question. Please tell me that it is neither about farts nor standard water.
No, I wouldn't deign to talk about that. I am going to talk about pasty white people. Because Gabriel asks, could enough pasty Brits reflect enough sunlight to make a laser?
A laser.
A laser.
Honestly, anytime we can make fun of Brits, we will, because we love them.
Yes. I will say, since this is an audio medium, I am of the pale variety of humans, so I feel like I can talk about this.
For
and
sure.
It's okay.
Go for it.
So Gabriel adds, Julian and Trace, and I'm sure Lieven, if he knew you were there, he'd say hello as well. Love your work. Another podcast, They Exist, which blasphemy, mentions setting up a line of Brits to use their pasty skin to reflect the sun's rays. So, how much energy is reflected by human skin? How much per Brit or, other places and skin tones on the spectrum, how much energy is reflected by all Brits and all humans? Could you focus the energy into a laser? How could this possibly solve anything? Again,
great
the theme.
I love it.
Hoping for a response, it would be great to weaponize the pasty among us. Also, Gabriel, I think historically speaking, pasty people are already like the most dangerous. So I don't think
fully
we need
weaponized.
any help from the sun. Yeah, we're pretty lethal. Before we get into the fart gun invention that we're cooking up. Okay, I had to look into basically how much light does skin reflect. And I didn't think that this would be easy to find. And then actually, basically, the first paper I found was exactly about this.
Wow, great.
There's a paper from the year 2000 by Nina Jablonski and George Chaplin titled The Evolution of Human Skin Coloration. And in it, they talk about, why people are different colors. And the interesting thing about this, if you weren't already aware, is it's really a balancing act between two things that we need our skin to do, right? We need to be protected from ultraviolet light, damages DNA and the skin, and also something called folic acid, or in our bodies, its conjugate form is folate. And folic acid is needed for making nucleotides and therefore DNA. And it breaks down when it's hit by light. So our skin needs to protect folate from light, but it also needs to be able to produce vitamin D as well.
Right.
And we produce vitamin D when we're exposed to sunlight. So folate deficiency in non-human mammals, it's been shown to produce fetal anomalies, malformations of the eye, central nervous system, palate, lip, gastrointestinal system, aorta, kidneys, skeleton.
That seems bad.
All bad things.
Yeah, bad.
Right? You may have heard of spina bifida, where the spinal cord doesn't basically form during gestation completely, and it can be fatal. And so having folic acid broken down or folate broken down by sunlight can reduce, successful subsequent generations and offspring. So there'd be a reason for people who live in areas with a lot of high intensity light and ultraviolet light to have darker skin that protects them. But conversely, we need our skin to make vitamin D. It's essential for growth, calcium absorption, skeletal development. And if we don't have enough vitamin D, it can cause death, immobilization, pelvic deformities, which also prevents normal childbirth. And melanin, that protects the folate in our bodies from being broken down by sunlight, it also reduces how much vitamin D we can produce when exposed to sunlight. So you can see there's a balancing act here, right? Between protecting us, but also letting us make enough vitamin D. And naturally, over many generations, right, people kind of settle towards that optimum mix of protection and vitamin D production. And it's very highly dependent on the latitude that they live at, right?
Right.
Because the closer you are to the equator, the more direct sunlight you're getting, the more energy per unit area is hitting you, the more protection from the sun you're going to need. And we've talked about this in the past, but Lieven, as somebody who lives in Europe, have you ever thought about just how far north Europe is?
In degrees or compared to the United States?
Either.
Just in general? It's very far north, parallel-wise.
Yeah, well, it's a few years ago I set up a sundial, and then you need, of course, the exact degrees. I think it's 52 where I am, 52 north. But Europe, of course, we have the warm Gulf Stream, so the warm ocean water comes our way, and that's why it feels more moderate than the degree that we're at,
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we did a whole episode about that, because someone asked if there were no Americas. And it's like, well, there'd be no Gulf Stream, so Europe would probably not be doing great.
Yeah.
We did a very early episode, too, that stuck with me on, what if the moon went away?
Yeah.
And I talked about how the moon has, a stabilizing effect on the tilt of our axis and how, extreme the tilt might get. And I was looking up cities that would probably, fall into, start falling into the permanent darkness zone as the Earth tilted more. And it was, if it's above a certain latitude. And almost all of them, the major cities, were in Europe. And that's when it really struck me, wow, that continent has a lot of population very far north compared to other places in the world.
And when I lived in Michigan growing up, there's a sign at the 45th parallel, because that's when you pass. You're closer to the North Pole than the equator.
Okay.
And Michigan is considered pretty far north in the U.S. And we're not quite at the top of the Lower Peninsula, but you're like driving along and you're like, 45th parallel, we're closer to the North Pole now. And Lieven's like, wow, that's far away south.
Yeah.
Yeah, practically tropical.
I lived in Iceland for 1 year as an exchange student, and Iceland is just below the polar circle. It's also not that cold. Of course, there's a lot of snow there, but it doesn't get the cold temperatures that you would see in Canada because, well, it's, again, Gulf Stream and a lot of ocean. But of course, I did have 24 hours of sunlight during summer. One of the sociological problems was the first time that they had a Muslim community in Norway and in Sweden and in Iceland, because during Ramadan, their moment that they can start eating is when the sun goes down.
Right.
And the way they worked around it is, I think that from a certain latitude, you can work with Mecca hours.
Yeah.
So you can take sun up and sun down from Mecca, and then they just adapt it that way.
Yeah, that's rough. I can't imagine being the first Muslim settlers somewhere up there.
There was another very interesting moment, was the first Muslim astronaut.
Mm-hmm. Same idea.
Where they've got 16 sunrises and sunsets a day.
And not just that, they have to pray a certain amount of
direction
in the direction of Mecca. And you fly around the earth every 90 minutes. And they had a huge conference. I think 300 Muslim theologians thought about how they could solve this. And so the solution was that when he started his prayer, he had to point to Mecca, and then he could stay in the same orientation inside the space station. That was the theological solution.
Wow. Man, and they say science doesn't bring people together. Like, that's amazing.
300 of them.
How do you kneel in 0G as well? Did they solve that? Did he have to strap in? Yeah.
Hook and loop systems.
Hook and loop fasteners.
Hook and loop fasteners are everywhere.
Not a trademark
so you just you stick yourself to the wall like a tennis ball.
Wow. Anyway.
Wow.
So that's why people of European descent are so pasty, right? Myself included, we come from pretty high northern latitudes, which means we need a lot more exposure to sun to get our required vitamin D, and we're not as at risk of having folate broken down by the sun. So we can afford to be paler. This paper I found actually has a table where they measured the reflectiveness of people's skin from certain countries with 685 nanometer wavelength light, which is red light.
Red.
Okay.
And I could link you the paper, but the Wikipedia article on it has the table, and it's sortable by actual, observed reflectance. By percentage. And before you click on it, if you haven't already changed it, do you want to guess where the most reflective people are from?
The most reflective person.
The people in this table, because I'm sure there are groups that are not represented.
Right. The most reflective. If I had to guess? Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to guess Northern Europe.
That's safe starting point.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Ireland, Scandinavia.
Denmark. I'm just going to say Denmark.
You're dancing around it, but I wonder if Lieven, what's the relationship between the Belgians and the Dutch? Is it friendly? Is it
the Belgians and
antagonistic?
Belgians and Dutch is much like British and United States, where we are the British and the Dutch are the United States. You could say that.
Okay.
We share a language and we share a lot of culture, and then we have our own national character. Yeah.
I see. There's kind of like a bit of friendly,
joking
and
the typical jokes are they say that we are stupid farmers, and we say that they are arrogant and always looking for money.
I see. Well, you can add to this the palest people in the world.
Really?
According to this table, they reflect 67.37% of light at 685 nanometers.
Isn't it also just a bit of their self-esteem glowing off that kind of messes with the numbers there?
Maybe, yeah, their radiance, their natural radiance. By the way, the Belgians are 12th at 63.14%, so a full 4% less reflective.
Is that a standardized Belgian then that you're talking about?
Yeah, standard Belgian.
It's a collected, they went out in the sea and they collected an ampule of Belgians.
We are the only nation that is measured in ampules.
But as far as pasty Brits go, they actually, the highest ranked group of the British was people from Cumberland, which is on the border with Scotland. They are 66.75% reflective, which puts them at third behind the Germans.
That's pretty good. The Basques are up there too.
Yeah.
The Netherlands, Germany, Britain? Is that the...
There's multiple UK groups.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Whoever made this really subdivided the United Kingdom into Cumberland,
A lot.
Northern, Wales, London specifically. Just you want to know how reflective a Londoner is?
It's the
There's
smog.
a table.
At this chart.
Smog
This is
thing.
a paper from the year 2000.
Did you come across the Native Americans from all up north?
Like an Inuit.
Oh, I don't think they're
not
represented
represented
in
here.
this table.
Aha, and do you know the story behind the skin color of the Inuit?
I don't.
Aha, again.
Educate me.
Again, from my genetics show, which told me in Mr. Well, Actually. So, like you said, you have this trade-off between not burning your skin, but also you have to be lighter to produce the vitamin D when you're higher up north. And the Inuit in Northern America changed their metabolism. So they genetically changed their production of vitamin D so they don't need paler skin.
No kidding.
Cool.
And that's why they can live so far up north and still have a darker skin. Yeah.
That's amazing. And we were talking about albedo too, right?
Yeah.
If they live somewhere that's covered in white ice all the time, they're getting a lot of that sunlight reflected back at them.
Yeah, true.
So I imagine being darker skinned would benefit that way, you know?
I was in the Greenland Museum in Copenhagen a few years ago, and they had Greenland sunglasses there, like from the First Nations of Greenland. And of course, they didn't have glass or anything, and they are made of bone. So it's a bone glass with a very thin line. It's not completely open, but there's a very thin line, and they look through the line just to block all the other light. They look so spacey. Greenland, old,
cool.
ancient Greenland sunglasses. Don't show them to Kanye West because he will start wearing them.
Oh, no.
Gross.
But yeah, that's speaking of though, right? Like if you've ever gone skiing or snowboarding and you have to wear goggles so you don't get snow blindness, where all the bright light from the snow burns your retinas. That's fascinating, Lieven. That's so cool. So that's at one specific wavelength, though, that they were using to kind of calibrate whiteness. Like I said, it's red light that they were using. But Gabriel was asking about how much energy is reflected by human skin. And it's not uniform across all the wavelengths, how much our skin reflects. So as a rule, regardless of skin color, we reflect a lot less light at shorter wavelengths, like down at violet, which is also the highest energy visible light. And if you're light-skinned, you might reflect as much as 20% of violet light, but if you're very dark-skinned, you might only reflect 5% at those wavelengths. And we reflect more energy at longer wavelengths, like reds, and there's a much bigger difference here. Light-skinned people can reflect, like we talked about, mid to high 60s, but very dark-skinned people might not even reflect 20% of red light. So this is based on a lecture I found by a computer scientist who was trying to quantify all this, and the purpose was to train computers on how to recognize skin in digital images in different lighting conditions and with different skin tones. And it's a very amusing lecture to me because you can tell, like, it's from the early 2000s. All the screen grabs are like Windows XP and stuff.
Oh. Excellent.
And they were using it for applications like face tracking or identifying adult images. Because if there's a lot of skin tones in frame, right, an algorithm might flag it as being adult images. But it's funny, if it's like a close-up of a face, the algorithm would see all this skin, like identify it and be like, oh, that's an adult image because this percentage.
Back up. Don't be so close.
But it's so typical for the times before AI. Before pattern recognition in AI, you had to work with, there is a lot of this certain color. This is probably nudes.
Face recognition algorithms also, in like the last decade really took off, and they don't rely on things like, skin tone. They look at, basically they're looking for the shapes of a face in the organization of a face, which is why you can point it at like a cat and it'll still apply the face filter sometimes, because it's like, there's two eyes, there's a nose.
It's a neural network, so it's picture goes in, answer comes out, what happens in between, well, bit of a black box mystery.
Black box, yeah. Nobody knows. But yes, you're right. When computing power was that of the 2000s, when we were on Windows XP, this was an approach that was attempted. But this paper was useful, though, because it showed me, these different levels of skin reflectivity for people of different skin colors, and also how much energy different types of light put out. So how much energy, then, does a typical pasty Brit reflect under ideal conditions, right? We're going to hit them with the maximum amount of sunlight.
I mean, if you look at history, as much as possible, they will reflect and reflect and reflect and say, it's never been our problem. This is everybody else's in the wrong. It's the
talking about light.
Oh,
not.
Sorry.
Not societal issues. Okay, so I'm going to take this Brit on holiday. They're at the equator. They're smack on the equator. It's midday. They're lying flat on a chair, right, tanning, turning that beautiful lobster red that Brits on vacation like to turn.
I don't miss my free sticks at all. Just here on the equator.
Good to get away from me mud hut.
Good to get away from me mud hut.
So at the equator, midday, direct on, the sun is going to deliver about 1,360 watts per square meter. I'm going to say our British person has a surface area of about 0.85 square meters. So he or she is going to receive 1,150 watts, which is about the energy equivalent of 19 or 20 60-watt light bulbs, right? That's how much they're getting. But how much are they reflecting? Well, that's going to depend on, the wavelengths of light they're being hit with and the different reflectivity at the different wavelengths. So the good news is, for daylight, for my purposes of figuring this all out, the spectral power distribution, that's the power per unit area, per unit wavelength for sunlight, it's fairly flat, right? If you look at the spectral power distribution of like a tungsten light bulb, it's going to have very low power at the ultraviolet and purple end and very high power at red, and even past that up to infrared, which is why, they're all hot. But sunlight, pretty flat. It's more power in the ultraviolet region, about 20% more than at the infrared. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take our curve for how reflective pasty white skin is. I'm going to kind of try and find what the, average of that curve is, and then multiply it by the average of the energy of sunlight. And I come up with an estimate that a pasty British person at the equator, reflecting as much sunlight as possible, will reflect 423 watts, which is about 7 60-watt light bulbs. As a pasty person who's been to the beach a handful of times and taken my shirt off, when people are like, I'm blind, it used to hurt my feelings. But now I realize I have the potential radiance of 7 light bulbs, 7 decent room illuminating light bulbs.
You have more radiance than that to me. That's yeah.
Stop it. So I was shocked by that figure, though. That's quite a lot of energy bouncing off of white people.
It is a lot. So I remember the days where a 100-watt light bulb was the strongest one that you could buy, and that would light up the room. And so 4 of them, that's...
4 of them?
Yeah, 4 of them.
Of course, compared to the direct sunlight coming overhead, it's not very much. I'm imagining a way to put this white person in a room and shine a light only on them.
I was just thinking about the same thing. So because the eye works logarithmically and not linearly, so we always have a completely different perception of light outside or inside. But how do we get a fully reflective Brit in a dark room? That's the engineering.
Just put a pint on a table and they'll go.
Someone lift a point here, mate. It's a football game starting somewhere.
Oh, what's that light? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go a pint.
Exactly. Anyway, so Gabriel asked, though, could we make a laser, right? That was kind of the final endpoint of Gabriel's question. And the thing is, laser specifically, no, right? And this has to do with how skin reflects light and what a laser is. And when I define the two things, you'll see how they're really incompatible. So we can model how skin reflects light with a dichromatic reflectance model, which I know it sounds complicated, but basically, we take in the different ways altogether that skin can reflect light. When it hits the surface of skin, it'll scatter through it and bounce out, and so it'll scatter in a bunch of different directions, but it'll also bounce directly off, kind of mirror-like to some degree, because we've got oils and stuff on our skin as well. So taken all together, you've got a pretty diffuse light coming off the skin. What makes a laser is it's a tight, focused, coherent beam of light. Laser, I'm sure you know, is an acronym. It's light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. And basically the way it works is you stimulate a lasing material, say like a ruby, and the atoms in the ruby start emitting light. The electrons in it get excited, they jump to a higher energy state, then they fall back down, they give off a photon of light, and then you trap this light between two mirrors and you bounce it back and forth. And as it bounces back and forth, it stimulates other atoms in the ruby, and it amplifies, it generates more and more light, and eventually you get enough light that it can pass through one of those mirrors, because the mirror's not perfect, it allows like 2% of the light through, and you get this tight, focused beam. It's all one color, because it's all, one material emitting at a specific wavelength. The waves are coherent. The peaks and troughs are lining up, so they're amplifying each other, and they're nice and tight and focused. Can't do that with how light reflects off of skin.
Yeah.
And I was going to be like, that's impossible for any organism. And then last week happened. Did you hear the news about organisms with lasers from last week?
No.
Yes.
Wait. What?
Yes.
Wait.
Yeah. Okay.
Seriously, laser technology was a big chapter in our physics book when I studied physics. And I'm really curious now because I can't think of any way that this could happen in nature.
Right. I mean, I'm with you. But apparently, peacocks do it.
Oh, with the quantum effects in the feathers, the colors of the feathers?
Yeah. Apparently they have basically all those things that I said define a laser, they do in their feathers. In like the blue eye spots, it'll stimulate the emission of electrons when light hits it. It'll bounce back and forth in nanoscale structures before finally being emitted as like a tight, coherent, monochromatic beam. Peacocks, when they spread the feathers out and they have all those, little eye spots, they're just shooting a bunch of lasers at you.
Whoa.
So, when you put a cat next to the peacock, the cat goes wild.
Yeah, I bet.
It will just... Oh, the colors!
We need to do this.
Not to mention the giant bird with the huge fanned-out tail, I also imagine would drive the cat nuts.
So how many peacocks do you need to kill to make a laser pointer?
How many peacock feathers do you need to cover British people in?
Oh, that's what you need.
Then you get Elton John, I think, no?
Yeah.
You just
There
need
you go.
one Elton John.
The most dangerous Brit.
But so this blue color of the peacocks, it is probably, now that I hear you explain it, it's this blue that is, it's not pigment, but it's the structure.
Structural blue.
Yeah, just like the blue in our eyes, I think is structural, and some butterflies also have...
Butterfly wing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that it had this laser analogy of bouncing light. It's really interesting.
Apparently it meets the criteria,
Cool.
right?
Cool.
To be a laser.
Wow.
So, I think you nailed it with Elton John. I think if we put Elton John on holiday on the beach, he could be devastated.
So the answer is one. One.
One.
Elton John.
Elton John in peacock feathers and...
Elton John covered in peacock feathers on a beach.
Yep. Holding in a fart for ultimate deadliness.
A 3-year-long experiment.
That's why he went on the farewell tour. He's got to save up and then...
This entire complexity of light reflection on skin is... when the first Hobbit movie came out, Lieven Scheire, probably. I interviewed the special effects director, who made this Goblin King, and So my podcast and the platform is called Nerdland, so we always like to go really in depth. And he went into skin because it's very important for them. If they want it to look realistic, it's all rendered. So they put in virtual light sources. And so they say, okay, this skin is in a cave. There's some fire over there. How does the computer do your thing? How does the fire reflect off the skin?
Right.
And he could go into, I think, primary reflection, secondary reflection, light that enters the skin and comes out again. Like you said,
subsurface scattering.
Yeah, subsurface scattering was exactly what he talked about. And some real reflection, like a mirror does, and then this diffuse. It's amazing. And also, I always think it's interesting when an entertainment product like a fantasy movie suddenly has to drive science in how does skin reflect.
Yeah.
And so now we can answer questions about pale Brits just because of this reflection science.
I did a lot of work for NVIDIA. No, I didn't get any stock. But for specifically their video game YouTube channel, and I would interview developers. And NVIDIA, starting in 2018, was the first company that came out with real-time ray tracing in their games, where they could model light bouncing around, much like they do in, CGI movies. But the difference is, like, a single CGI movie frame, especially like decades ago, might take days to render.
Right.
And in a video game, you want like 60 frames per second minimum. So the chips, they figured out a way to do this. And I would interview developers, and they talked about all these things. Like, okay, now we're going to kind of mimic how exactly these rays bounce around under the skin, and hit like capillaries and stuff. And so when like a guard is walking past a window, you can see like the pink through their ear kind of thing with the sunlight going
I love
through
those
it,
moments
sort of
in
and
animation.
it's
anytime.
stuff that when they talk about it, you're like, who cares? And then you kind of see the difference between like, the first Half-Life game from the 90s where everybody looks like they're made of cardboard and terrible. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we've come a long way. Like,
but even like the first three-dimensional games that I used to play, like late 90s, the huge polygons, well, especially...
Oh, yeah, just giant triangles.
Especially Lara Croft, of course, because they wanted all the curves in, and they couldn't make any curves of a female body, so it was all pyramids everywhere.
Yeah.
And we've come a huge... And, well, the moment that I was really struck by how good reflections were was the first time I was in VR... with the VR glasses, in a room where I could move around and see the lights from the ceiling reflect on the floor. That was so immersive. That's really when I felt like, okay, now it's becoming a good simulation.
I mean, the uncanny valley is, we haven't mentioned, but it really comes down to that when the immersion, right? Like, we are so good, our brains are so good at looking at a human and knowing if it's human or not.
Yeah.
And the uncanny valley, which if you're not aware, it was coined in like the 70s. The Japanese roboticist was thinking about robotics and started to think about how at some point we're going to get things that are so close to human that we're going to feel like it's uncanny if they're very close but not quite right. Yeah. It's fine if it's like a robotic beaver and you're like, okay, it looks like a stuffed beaver that's moving. You got a Teddy Ruxpin, it doesn't matter. Like, it's moving, but it's not making me uncomfortable. But if it looks so close to real but not quite, we get really uncomfortable, and it like drops off. And if you survey people, they're like, this is bad, I don't like it. And skin is part of that, and eyes are part of that. And how we see those things and how they reflect light is how we interpret that. It's just really neat.
The first generative AIs that could produce faces that were not quite there yet, that's the stuff of nightmares. The eyes are like freakish or not completely symmetrical. And now when you go to, I think there's this website, thishumandoesnotexist.com. Every time you log in, it gives you a brand new face that doesn't exist, but that AI generated. And they are so good. We are so past the uncanny valley with this technology. It's amazing. Yeah.
Wait, wow. Jennifer James, our salt expert who's been a generative AI for 5 years, does she have dead, lifeless eyes, or is she...
They do not.
Okay.
Yeah, she is
a real expert. She's been generating AI content about salt for as long as she says. She's credentialed.
Probably.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, everyone who has listened to this entire episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. We've been here the whole time, and we're glad that you have as well. Lieven, before we wrap it up, where can people come and find you? Obviously, your podcast, Nerdland, which is great. Where can people find you if they want to hear more of your work, see you, talk about farts?
Well, my podcast, most of it is in Dutch. We do have a few specials in English, but I am touring at this moment with a theater show on artificial intelligence.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about how can you make your company more productive. That's not my thing. My goal is to explain to the interested layman what a neural network is, how it works, and why it does crazy things. So that's the show I'm touring with now. I'm going to do a tour in the UK in March. There's also a book in English of this tour, and that's what I do. If you want to find me, you can find me on lievenscheire.com, and because nobody knows how to spell it, I have also registered lievenscheire.com.
I can't believe that was available.
Oh, yeah.
Did the studio that owns the Hobbit movies not object?
No, not yet.
Nice.
Don't give them ideas.
Nice. We won't tell them. Well, yeah, it was funny enough. We seem to have a bit of like a Dutch contingency of listeners, like
cool.
Rob, who we answered a question today. So if you want Dutch science content, we'll send some, apparently the pastiest people in the world your way.
That sounds like the beginning of a zombie movie. I will send the pastiest.
I'm blind.
And
the
here,
radiance.
and we will add a few peacocks.
Thanks a lot again for listening to this episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. The show was created, written, and produced by, well, at least Lieven's part, by Lieven, and then by me, Trace Dominguez.
And me, Julian Huguet.
It was also produced and edited by the wonderful and, I would say, albedo of 8, Kyle Sisk.
The show is also associate produced by Sabrina Capello. Our music is thanks to Epidemic Sound. Thank you to listeners who submitted questions featured in this episode, Rob, Nick, and Gabriel. If you'd like to submit questions, we have so many ways to do it. There's a form in our show notes. You can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can visit our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask. You can call us 302-TAPE-SHOW. That's TAPESHO. The questions are clearly the lifeblood of the show. They make it possible, and they always make us laugh, so we really appreciate them. Please keep them coming.
Also, thank you to everyone who has joined the Patreon. The Patreon is what keeps the lights on. In this case, maybe not literally, but like literally. They keep us going and let us actually get a little bit of bills paid thanks to you all. So thank you for everyone who has joined, especially to our absurd administrators, Adam, Les, Austin, Jonathan, Evan, Dan, Sabrina, The Brain, and Silver Skies. Thank you so much. And of course, if you would like to join the Patreon, you can go down into the show notes as well, and there is a link there. The Patreon, again, is how we keep this show going. So thank you again to everyone who has joined.
Without it, to keep the lights on, I'd have to take off my shirt in a dark room.
It would be like ancient Egyptian kind of style, right? Where you'd like stand near the window and just kind of reflect the sun into the room.
The Lara Croft Tomb Raider puzzles with all the mirrors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the mirrors. And the room is Trace's studio.
I am the mirror.
Thanks also for your reviews. We always apologize for making you listen to us, but people actually seem to like it, and it helps other people find the show, so thank you for adding your thoughts that tell other people that it's worth their time.
Yes, and of course, a special thanks to those listening on Nebula. By listening, you are supporting the show and other independent creators by being part of Nebula. If you want to join and try Nebula out, go to go.nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow, and if you join, we get a little support from that as well, even if you just try it out. So thanks for that. But as we say at the end of every episode of our show, our catchphrase, which is, of course,
it takes a minimum of 3 years to master the deadly art of the fart.
As we say at the end of every episode,
the farcial arts.
Mastering the farcial arts takes at least 3 years.
Yes. 10,000 hours of farts.
The fart of war.
As we say at the end of every episode, we spend all this time trying to shout into the universe, but farts speak louder than words.
In space, no one can hear you fart.
Yeah.
Oh, but we can with the James Webb.
Yeah, we can hear you fart.
Pasty British people will argue that you farted repeatedly.
Every breath you take, you need 300 days of fart. So every day is like 1/300th of a fart.
Live every day like it's a 300th of a fart. This is a weird catchphrase.
That's it. That's the one.
Okay, there we
We
got
should
it.
rename peacocks pewcocks, because, they're like pew, 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 because they're shooting lasers. As Carl Sagan would say, billions and...
If you want to make a fart, you will first invent the universe.